Howdy folks, welcome back to Hunter's Lodge. I am very tired, but I did want to have a nice fun little discussion today with you about some games that I've played in the past and have some pretty strong opinions about, based on my own experiences, a little bit of research, being in the communities, etc. So, today I wanted to talk about how Dead by Daylight is the king, the undisputed king in its field. There is nothing that would compare to Dead by Daylight in its sheer popularity and staying power in its field. So, in the genre of asymmetrical horror PvP games, I wanted to talk about a few of them that didn't really last and why they might not have lasted. I'm not going to go into a huge essay level structure on why these games died like I tried to do for High Rise in my previous video, but just a nice little casual conversation between you and me while I play some killer in the background. So, some background on me with Dead by Daylight. I used to stream it, used to make videos for it before this was a hot shutdown channel, and then whatever the hell it is now, it was a Dead by Daylight channel. I've got 600 hours in the game. That's nothing compared to some people, oh my god, but it is a lot more than the average person. I'm primarily a killer main. I only play Survivor with friends. I don't really find solo queue Survivor fun at all. And I don't like Dead by Daylight enough to stream it like a career, so I like to play it in short bursts and here and there. I always stay updated on the game, right? It's hard not to. People talk about Dead by Daylight no matter what sphere you're in. So, especially because you'll be playing Call of Duty, chilling or whatever, and they're like, oh my god, the ghost is gonna be in Dead by Daylight. But, so it makes sense that people like me who had played the game previously, even if I hadn't played it in 2 years, I would take some of that knowledge of the community and the news happening around the game into my regular daily life and keep it in the background of my mind. So, but it always made me wonder, because every couple years, another Dead by Daylight killer comes out and it doesn't quite hit the mark. Say it's like a year later, right? And that shit's getting shut down, the development stops, it's getting sunset, it's got 50 players, it's dead already, but why does that happen, right? Why is Dead by Daylight, basically the pioneer of its own genre, the only game that's allowed to continue to survive in the genre? There's gotta be something that makes that happen. And it's not exactly a one-to-one. Every game had its own issues that differ from Dead by Daylight, which, don't get me wrong, has had its own issues, plenty of them. But the difference is, Dead by Daylight has like a decade of fucking development, dude. It has survived because people have played it, because they put money into it, because behavior didn't give up on it. Dead by Daylight has had so many problems that in a smaller game like Texas Chainsaw Massacre could kill the game by itself. But because of the staying power of Dead by Daylight, when these issues happen, behavior is afforded the time and the money to fix those issues. And it might take them a year. It might take them 2, 3, 4. It might take them 6 fucking years. But they do fix those issues. Dead by Daylight's in a great state right now. Granted, they just released a patch yesterday for the Walking Dead chapter, so obviously the game's a disgusting fucking mess. This clown gameplay in the background is disgusting. I cannot believe they let this version of Clown go to live. It's insanity how broken he is. But bar for bar, I would say like there's so few games that would compete with the amount of live service Dead by Daylight has received, even games in other genres. So how can a game that competes directly with Dead by Daylight's player base, how could it compete? With less resources, less time, and less players? Well, they fail. I've played pretty much all of them. I haven't played VHS, and I haven't played Clowns from Outer Space, so I'll talk about them briefly and what I know about them from the communities, because all these communities of these horror games, they all talk. They all play the same fucking games, they all try the new games when they come out and go, oh, this sucks, it's not Dead by Daylight, whatever. And then they go back and they're like, oh, Dead by Daylight sucks. You know how it is with people playing games. But I'll tell you my experiences with them a little bit. So, Evil Dead game, let's start there. I thought the game had a lot of potential, but let's start with the issue, right? The big one in the room. I talked about it in my High Rise video. Epic exclusivity. You love it, you hate it. Okay, you don't love it, you hate it. Everybody hates it. Epic Games will go, hey, developers, publishers who want to make this game a reality, what if you work with us, give us a year of Epic exclusivity on our wonderful store platform, and we will give you exclusive discounts to the Unreal Engine, a bunch of our assets, support from us, and we'll put you right on the front page. So, they give you that Epic exclusivity, you sign the contract, and you've already doomed your game from the fucking start. Because Epic exclusivity is a easy way to kill a game. Epic will never compete bar for bar with Steam. Epic will never be able to compete with Steam. It just can't. It doesn't measure up in any fucking way. So, I mean, bear in mind, if you need a fucking example, the Epic Game Store gives away games for free all the time. Why would they be giving games away for free if you had any other reason to have it installed on your fucking computer? So, Evil Dead game was already off to a rough start. Now, let's talk about content on launch. It wasn't great. You had 3 killers. I'm gonna use Dead by Daylight terms for everything, by the way. You had 3 killers, and I want to say like 6 or 7 survivors. Now, it's hard, because there was a progression system. There was a series of 3 skill trees that each survivor or killer had that you could go down, and you can mix and match the skill trees to build up your characters and these different upgrades from my memory. But that depth of gameplay wasn't really there. The survivor aspect of the game felt super fucking clunky. It felt horrible. Like, think of any third-person mode in a game that isn't supposed to have a third-person mode and how clunky it feels. And now imagine that's the entire fucking game. Now, playing as Killer did feel a bit better, I'll admit it, but it wasn't the game itself. It was the gameplay loop. I mean, it wasn't the game itself as in, it wasn't the engine, right? It was the gameplay loop. So, for Killer, you were just going around to different places, sucking up souls to get stronger, leveling up your abilities essentially, and then going to different circles that were on the map and holding E on them to put a zombie there, put a zombie here, put a zombie here. What was cool about the Evil Dead game compared to Dead by Daylight is that you took more of a director role, like with Left 4 Dead, right? How the director in the background is constantly controlling how many zombies are attacking you, where they're coming from, how many special infected are spawning when the tank comes, etc. You got a glimpse of that in the Evil Dead game, and that was really fucking cool. It even portrayed the entire game kind of like Left 4 Dead, like you're in a movie. And let's not get it twisted, it was cool. The game was cool, and it was fun, but only right at the start of the game when it first came out. Because it didn't take long at all for the Survivor players to figure out the absolute cheese to instantly be winning games. So, there were particular items that the survivors could loot in the game that would make them a lot stronger, the chainsaw for example, and it didn't take long for these survivors to figure out the particular builds they needed, the particular characters they needed. Some character skill trees were fucking insanity. They were so broken, and then others were like, you're a little harder to knock down. This bitch over here can heal you to full health, and this guy over here is like, I mean, I guess it's cool. I'll just stand a little stronger. So there was an inherent imbalance in the game right from the get-go, which is to be expected. But the problem is you need time and players to QA your fucking game and figure out those balance issues. So when you're already on Epic Store and you already have a small amount of players and your shareholders are like, where's the fucking money? You're not off to a great start. And you can't really get a good QA going with your players, a good communication back and forth with them to figure out what the fucking issues are and fix them quick enough to make the game keep those players. So it slowly became impossible to play 2 out of the 3 killers and actually do well, and if you did want to do well, you could shoehorn yourself into playing the exact same fucking way every single game, which becomes very boring, by the way, to try and compete with these survivors that are absolutely mollywopping you. And again, don't get it twisted. If there's like 2 bad survivors on the survivor team, they're fucked. They're just fucked. But if all 4 of them are coordinating like a Swift and Dead by Daylight, then it's easy as pie. Freest game of your life. You can't even lose. So it's the same issue Dead by Daylight has. Swifts are way too strong when they coordinate, and then solo queue's fucking terrible. What else is new? So the game rotted on the Epic Game Store for its exclusivity contract, and the entire time the player base just wasn't existent. Took forever to find a fucking game. When you got in a game, people would just DC. It didn't matter. So finally, it goes to Steam and it's DOA. Like I said, they didn't have the time or money to fix the issues they fucking needed to while it was still Epic Games exclusive. So by the time it got to Steam, there wasn't any time left to actually fix those issues, and the game just died. So long to the Evil Dead game. you were a niche IP, but less niche than the other ones we're going to talk about today. Starting with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this is a game I was very excited for, specifically because I only really like killer gameplay, but you can't play killer with your friends. Ignore 2v8. We're not going to talk about 2v8 right now. So, if I want to experience the fun of being a killer, but play a game with my friends, there was no other option but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, where you've got the 3 family members versus the survivors, 4 of them. That was a really cool dynamic and a really unique idea they had, and I honestly thought it had a lot of potential. Your survivors would start in the basement at the beginning of the game with Bubba chasing them down, and obviously killing one of their friends at the beginning of the cutscene, and then the other family members would be up above collecting blood to give to Grandpa to make him stronger, while everybody else is trying to get the parts, assemble the who's a what's it's, and get out as soon as possible. It was a lot of fun, and at the beginning, before people figured out builds and stuff, you got to see a bunch of different characters, you got to see a bunch of different builds. It was interesting. They also had a skills tree system, and it was a bit more in-depth, I would say, than, like, a lot more in-depth than the Evil Dead one, but you could just look at a pretty good build online and have a good time. What problems did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game face? Well, it didn't have Epic exclusivity, so that wasn't an issue. It did launch on Steam, but there were other issues that were absolutely blatant. For one, the balance in that game was even worse than the Evil Dead game. Survivors that coordinated and wanted to be completely cheesy could escape the game, which is the point, by the way. The survivors are to escape the farmhouse and escape the family, like in the movie. But if they wanted to be cheesy, they could escape in less than a minute. Like, nobody gets points for your game, nobody gets fucking resources to continue to level up their webs. Like, it's just, you spawn and the survivors escape within a minute, and literally nobody had fun. They didn't have fun escaping, you didn't have fun losing, nobody got to play the fucking game. And that was not hard to do. You just look up a quick YouTube guide, you invest 5 minutes into it, now you and all of your friends know how to escape in a fucking minute and just take the gameplay away from everybody. But if they chose, say, to not do that, you would often find them playing the same survivors every fucking game, because it was very obvious whose powers, or I guess whose ability was significantly better. Like, getting to just open a lock is fucking crazy, by the way, when you normally have to go get the means to open the lock. But nope, your character can just open it. Cool, sick. Your character can tackle one of the family members and slam open doors, locking them into a 10-second stun they can't get out of. An almost infinite stun loop. Incredible. Like, the balance wasn't there, and the family had issues too. Like, Sissy, she, for example, if she had a particular poison build, she could just, like, poison her knife, and if she hit you once, you were basically fucking dead. She would just keep swinging rapidly like a fucking crackhead, and you would just die so fast. And that's not even including the fact that Bubba literally can one-hit people, which is an integral part of his game design. And once you get used to the windup of the chainsaw, and you get good positioning, you can just reasonably one-hit kill anybody. Then there's no counterplay, there's no QT or anything, they can't stop it. You just have to be in the right place and hold left click long enough, and bam, you'll fucking kill somebody. So, but beside the gameplay issues for Evil Dead, for the Texas Chainsaw game, there was this one particular issue that made the game fucking impossible to play, and that was the queues. The queue times were fucking terrible, and there was no punishment for leaving a lobby. So you and everybody would load into a lobby, and then immediately one of the killers would realize, oh, I have to play Bubba. That was another thing, by the way. Even though there were more than 3 family members available to play, somebody always had to play Bubba or the game literally couldn't launch. It wouldn't let you. Somebody had to play Leatherface every single lobby, and they would later remove that, but still, it took forever to have that changed, and a lot of people didn't like playing Leatherface because he just one-hit kills people. You don't really get a lot of gameplay with that. It's either you kill them or you don't, and that's not exactly the most fun gameplay loop. So, what a lot of people would do was load into a game, and the moment they saw that none of the family members were Bubba, they would just immediately leave the lobby and go next and look for a new one. So you and your friends would be stuck sitting in this lobby for like 20 minutes waiting for a fucking Leatherface player, right? And then finally you get in game, and then people just cheese it. They're out in a minute, or your Leatherface just trolls and absolutely nothing gets done, and then you can't win the fucking game. It was so unbalanced in so many ways. Neither side was having fun unless everybody participated and wasn't too good at the game, which is why the first month or two of the game was actually pretty fun. I loved it. Each killer had different things they could do around the map that only they could do, right? They had particular things that like the smaller family members could go in between cracks in the walls, but Bubba could destroy certain walls because he had a chainsaw. There were so many cool aspects to it on each map that made the different games feel different and allowed for a lot of gameplay expression, even though it would usually just dissolve into all the survivors just jumping down the well and being fine. You know, oh, Bubba's about to give me, jump in the well. I'm downstairs now. Oh, it's cool. It's fine. Like, God, I could talk forever about how easy it was to cheese the fucking game as a survivor, dude. It was miserable to be a family member unless you also wanted to do a cheesy, stupid build that removed all gameplay. It's like, if you didn't do the sweatiest, most disgusting build ever, you didn't get to have fun. Unless everybody else wanted to have fun too, and that's not how fucking games work. People don't all want to have fun. They want to piss you off. Like, if you could teabag in the game, they would. And the content, slow. It was a drip, dry, slow bleed of content. It took forever to get new characters in the game, and then they were crazy. They were either bumfuck useless or absolutely broken, the best characters in the game, and they costed money, so it made the game pay to win. And then eventually, the devs just got sunsetted themselves instead of sunsetting the game, and a new dev squad had to get brought in with a new director to try and fix all the shit that went wrong, but like, it was just way too late. The game had no chance at survival, and it could not even measure up to a fucking fifth of what Dead by Daylight could accomplish. But, and then like games like VHS, for example, no marketing. They even had to change their name. They took down the marketing and changed their name because I assume they got sued or cease and desisted or something. And they had to go from VHS to Video Horror Society, and the moment they changed their name to Video Horror Society, nobody even knew the fucking game existed. They're Googling VHS and the game's not coming up. Like, what do you do? So, the game comes out, the beta fucking soft launches, nobody's there to play it, and nobody talks about the game, the creator space isn't there, and the game dies. It's super fast. And then, oh my god, the fucking Killer Clowns from Outer Space game. Dude, your niche IP is just too niche, okay? At least Friday the 13th had like 30 Jasons to work with across the movies, the comics, that can make new fucking Jasons, right? Beside the issues that game had, Killer Clowns is such an incredibly niche, campy, vintage IP to work with. It is insane to me that they thought that was the fucking move. They were just running out of horror movies to try and make a new Dead by Daylight out of. And that comes down to probably my greatest point for all of these failures. Dead by Daylight is not a video game based on a single IP. It is a collection, a collaborative effort of dozens of IPs being put into one game. And that is the coolest part about Dead by Daylight. It is the absolute pinnacle of crossovers. Like, the killers in the game could be from any horror movie, or even not a horror movie, from a fucking anime like Tokyo Ghoul. Brother, like, we've got the Xenomorph in there, we could get fucking Predator in there, we could get, oh my god, like, we could get a Terrifier crossover, get Art the Clown in there. There's so many times where any new horror movie comes out and it's popular enough, there's a possibility you could get to play your favorite horror villain in Dead by Daylight, and that alone is a novelty that cannot be matched. And then even if you don't get them as a playable killer, or a playable survivor, there are still skins in the game, so you could just be, for example, the Walking Dead chapter came out, they didn't add Daryl, but they added a legendary Daryl skin, and I'll tell you what, I've seen the legendary Daryl skin more than I've seen Rick in my games playing since yesterday, so I'll tell you what, he's way more popular. So it's things like that that make me love Dead by Daylight. There's always something to look forward to. Between the IPs, the gameplay changes, oh my god, the gameplay changes, dude, nothing competes with the live service Dead by Daylight's got. Like, League of Legends, sure, that's a whole other fucking thing in a whole other genre. Let's not even discuss League, it's an anomaly in itself. But Dead by Daylight has had horrible systems in place, like the original Prestige system, which was fucking horrible. It would punish you for prestiging. It would remove all the fucking things from your inventory. It would delete everything, even your event offerings, your event add-ons, all this shit, which is temporary and is meant to be a fun collectible. They would remove it if you prestiged. So they changed how Prestige worked. They added all the way up to Prestige 100, which adds an incredible incentive to keep playing the game and to level up your favorite killer or your favorite survivor all the way to Prestige 100. Like, it's stuff like that that make Dead by Daylight unmatched. You can invest hundreds, thousands of hours even into the game and not have the game completed. There's so much to do. They're adding new game modes once in a while and adding a second queue for them, like 2v8. 2v8 was a fucking blast, dude. Then there's the Chaos queue, which is incredibly well received. There's the Masquerade, which they're not doing again next year, which is a good thing. But there's events, there's new game modes, and there's crossovers constantly. Anything you can think of could be in Dead by Daylight, and that is a novelty that is unmatched. There's so much to unlock, there's so much to do, there's so many ways to play. The identity in Dead by Daylight that you can develop for yourself is incredible. There are survivors and killers on the ladder that are so well known that the moment you see them with a certain skin, playing a certain way, you know it's them, and that is incredible. Like the Wild West of horror games. There's legends within the game. The Creator Sphere creates some of the most absolutely unique and incredible videos and tournaments. Oh my god, the tournaments. Dude, there's new tournament scenes coming out constantly for Dead by Daylight, even like 8 years later. The game isn't slowing down, and it just got its biggest crossover it's ever had when it finally got Springtrap, the single most requested killer of all time in Dead by Daylight, with a Five Nights at Freddy's map. That's insane. The game is still growing like a decade later, and that alone is insanity to me. The game is still growing in popularity. Can you believe that? Like, it's insane. But behavior got to this point with Dead by Daylight where it's basically unkillable. To the point, but it took forever. It took a long time, and it took a lot of losses at a point. The game wasn't always super profitable. But you gotta remember something, and this is important. All these other games did not get the chance that Dead by Daylight did. It takes investors accepting that they're going to be hitting loss after loss, quarter after quarter, for a while the devs add new content to the game, while the devs flesh out the systems within the game, refine the gameplay loop, fix the balance. It takes time for all of these things to be ironed out and perfected. And these games don't get that luxury. They get a year of live service if they're lucky, and then they get shut down. They get sunsetted just to rot away for 6 months before the servers go offline. It's such a tragedy that all of these games had the potential to be something really cool. They all had something unique and fun and exciting about them, but they don't get the luxury that Dead by Daylight did. Dead by Daylight was early enough and pioneering enough to basically make a game genre. And now that it exists as the only one of its peers to survive Dead by Daylight, it might be the only one we get left. It will continue to exist and grow in the coming years, I imagine, with even bigger crossovers, crazier IPs. Anything's possible at this point. They can literally get anybody in Dead by Daylight. And that is so interesting to think about. What a novelty in itself, right? I mean, Christ, we could get Goku as a cosplay for Dwight in the fucking game, and that's a crazy thought in itself. But, I guess I just wanted to give you some perspective today and just have a nice casual conversation while I'm tired of shit, making an easier video for me here. Just talking out my ass while there's some killer gameplay in the background. I figured it would be nice. And it's a good way for me to get more consistent content out without me having to fucking kill myself with my overwhelming job. So, if you want to help me leave my job that has overtime fucking constantly against my will, maybe become a member or a patron like the fine people on screen here. Love you guys. You are one of the things that keeps me getting out of bed in the morning when I'm depressed as shit and can barely drink water. I hope that everybody who watched this video has a wonderfully blessed day. And at the end of the day, I hope you stay blessed, and subscribe if you want to see more. I don't know what I'll talk about next, but hey, let me know below what you want to hear me talk about. I love talking, even when I'm tired of shit. So be blessed, stay blessed, and thank you for watching.